Hello everyone! Over the past year I had been working on a museum, and for people who remember it, this is where it used to be. And yep, that's right, it's all gone. Because my base was lagging so bad, I decided to move it because as you can see in the bottom right, it's hovering between 35 and 40 frames right now, if I look at the storage room. Well, the museum used to be above that, and I got abysmal rates of like 20 FPS here. And with the Moon's update approaching, there was going to be a lot of stuff that needed to be added to that museum. So instead of lagging this base even farther, I decided to move it to its own location. And that is what we're going to be checking out today. Over the past few days, I've been working on this monstrosity. I really like this area for building, because it has such a nice backdrop. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's not done by any means, but at the very least it should be ready for the Moon's update when we get all the supplies from Humble in there, as well as the 2 new moons that are going to be added soon. So today I'm going to take you along and give you a tour of this museum. There is a section all about the endings, but I'll leave those for the end of the video for people who don't want to see it, but are interested in the rest. So with that being said, let's get started. This is the outer entrance. I think it's quite nice. It is minimalistic, yet there is enough decoration here. There's a little dude working on empty shelves. Not 100% sure what to put there yet. Then we could go inside. And this is the main hall. It mainly houses some decorations, but in this middle section here, it showcases when all the different versions of Planet Crafter went live, like the alpha, the beta, the prologue, the early access, as well as 1.0. And then the very first Planet DLC. There's of course being Humble. And from this main hall you have multiple different routes to pick from. And I've been trying to fill up this museum as much as I could. So we have, for example, the treasure hunt event that just encases this little hallway. Same with the first year anniversary event. This just houses doors. So we can't really put anything here because this goes up to flowers. But let's go left first. And we can go up those stairs. Go on top there. And then come back down these stairs. And then we can do the middle section and what's all behind the museum. So this very first area, the treasure hunt. So on November 21st, 2023, Miju Games added a treasure hunt to the game. Now the goal of this treasure hunt was to reveal the next major update, which back then was co-op. However, they completed it in 6 hours. It was really quickly. It was also really interesting, had a bunch of custom stuff to the game that has been deleted now. If you want to see everything about that, I'll leave a link in the pinned comments to a video I made about it. It is really interesting. Then of course, co-op was officially released during the 1.0 on April 10th. But in my opinion, this is a really interesting little detail about the game that probably not a lot of people know about. And actually, I wonder, is this even on the Wikipedia page? Right, well, funny enough, no, it's not. At least I couldn't find it with a quick Google search. You'll see this more often when we go for this museum. The Wikipedia page for Planet Crafter is really lackluster, in my opinion. To the point where, on a lot of different topics, this museum is going to have more info than the wiki page, I guess. So this is the fish room. Here you can find all the different species and when they were introduced. This one is kind of weird in my opinion, like Space Trading added this volcanic looking fish, but then the volcanic update gave us this clown. You'd think it'd be the other way around, but no, it's not. I was scratching my head at that for a little while, but luckily I made videos about this game, basically since the prologue. So it makes it very easy to figure these things out. Well, I have to go back for all these videos, as well as the Steam patch notes, which don't really help out a lot, because Miju Games is just like, hey, we added the fish, but never specify what species, or same with trees and flowers. So a lot of this is trial and error, and the wiki page doesn't state anything when they were added either. So it's this entire museum is kind of a lot of research. So I'm glad that I got most of it done, and now it should be up to date. But of course we can always add more to it, like I'm planning on making a room for all the terraformation stages and what it does to the planets. Now behind the stairs, this is just a little place to fill some stuff up. We got a nice window that looks out. This ladder right here will go all the way up to a lookout spot. This view right here, for example, is gorgeous. You can see the trees down there. You can see all the animals back there. Well, they're not loaded in, but you would be if we're close enough. It's a pretty nice area. Then we come back here. This is still a work in progress, so there's no decorations here. Then we have the spoilers, which we're not going to right now, of course. We'll leave that for the end of the video. We got this upper room. I'm not 100% sure what we do here. Maybe this is where we have all the terraformation stuff. But if we go back down, here's another way to get to the spoiler room. This is where I'm currently having all the suits stored. So these are the space suits that you get on Humble, which we can currently get by space trading on Prime. These are all the Prime space suits. Pretty sure they introduced 15 of them at the start of the game. But it looks like I'm missing 2, but I can't find those for the life of me. So during the decoration update, they added some posters. So here are all of them, including this one, as well as animal effigies. And this is where we officially learned the names of these animals. Or is it? You'll see more about that when we get to the animal section. But these are all the mammals that are currently in the game and all their effigies. And we go back down the stairs. Again, behind here, there's a little storage area. As well as the frogs. So for example, Procedural Rex added these 2 dudes. Volcanic, in this case, actually did give us a volcanic frog, unlike the fish. And when they were introduced, these are all the frogs they came with. And then just some random decoration. Not sure what to do in the middle of the room. I do want to add something. Might just have some of these countertops just in the middle here for when they add more frogs. Then this is the first anniversary haul. So when the game came out on Steam, it was the 25th of March. Then 1 year later, they added a secret bunker to the game, and you could bake treats. And these are all the things you could bake as well as grow back then. Now, of course, later we got this item, the cooking station. This is basically what was inside that bunker. But later during space trading, they added this to it as well. And they also added fish soup and honey cooked beans. They added some more recipes to the cooking station as weren't there back then. But alright, we made the entire circle, so let's go over here. Let's check out the flowers first. So, flowers on Prime. I also put the algae here. It was the very first water plant. I couldn't find much information on this one, but I'm pretty sure it was released when the game went into early access. Then up here we have the 6 original plants. These were added during the alpha. All of these you were able to get through different means, like crafting. I think Lurma, though, you can craft them nowadays, but that was added in later. And then back here, there were 2 other ones. These 2 flowers. There's actually a fun story with those. So, you couldn't craft these, and they were not found in loot chests. So basically when you got to the point where terraformation allowed flowers to grow and bloom, these would grow in the world. However, there were only 9 of each growing on Prime, so there were only 9 of them in the entire planet. They were also introduced during the early access release, basically meaning we did not get any plants on Prime ever since. However, during Procedural Rex, these were found in loot chests, so they're no longer finite. That was a really long way off, too. Procedural Rex was like a year or 2 after the game came out. You know, these flowers, they look really good, so kinda sad that it took so long. Alright, if we go to the other side, this definitely needs some more decorations, but seeing as I'm gonna have all the DLC and other flowers here, I want to leave it somewhat open. But yeah, during the Humble DLC, 5 new flowers were introduced, but only on Humble, but you are able to get them through space trading, and soon the Moons update, as we can travel freely between the planets. I do quite like these flowers, though. Especially this one, this looks crazy. Alright, back inside. This one, I wasn't really sure what to call this room. Like, most of them at least have one major topic. This one has multiple. Let's start with the easy ones first. So Terra tokens, they were introduced with space trading, as we needed a currency, and they came with 4 different values. That being 100, 5, 1000, and 5000. Then there's an entire section on the quartz, or at least the colored ones, as the colored ones were introduced during procedural racks, as these are used for opening up portals. However, you weren't able to find them anywhere else until 1.0 when they added rainbow caves. And then with the Humble update, there's cosmic quartz. But they can only be found in Humble, so I don't have them displayed here yet. Like, I have most of these displayed here, including an access card, because that kinda, you know, symbolizes procedural racks. But as soon as we can get to Humble on this save file, with the Moon's update, we should be able to get the cosmic quartz here. So that'd be pretty cool. I got some random things like larva as well as warden keys. But then the main attraction to this room, butterflies. And that was kind of crazy. They introduced 15 butterflies at launch. And if we go back here, they also introduced the bee, making 16 new species, which is a lot for one update. Because most of them, they added like 11 or something, but not this one. And then Lore and Automation added another 3 of them, which is also crazy because most updates either give 1 or 2 new species of a kind. Space Trading, well, it only gave 1. And then if we go back here, and then Humble has its own butterfly too. This one also can be obtained via Space Trading. And if we go past here, there is a restroom. Nothing much though, just a dude washing his hands, because there's nothing else we could really put here yet. But I'm thinking of expanding that later. But as I said before, my goal was to get it ready for the next update, because there was going to be a lot more information dropping. Alright, let's go to the animals and trees next. Don't mind all the dirt that has got kicked in over time. These are all the trees that were added at launch. Well, the launch of the early access, that is. 9 of them in total. And then if we keep on walking, we come to a split here. So these are the prime trees. Prime, of course, standing for the planet we're on. These were added during some updates. And then DLC trees, which currently is only this one. So it is very easy to maintain, I guess. These trees, they were added over time. This one I find kind of funny because it was added during the Terra token rebalancing update, which was a small side update, but they decided to add this tree to it as well. I got this little outdoors area. Dude is chilling here. There were these 2 new trees that were added during the procedural racks. This one during the explosive update. And I think the explosive update was also one of the last major updates to this planet anyway. And then we can go over a bridge. Our dude is looking out over the canyon. They all need some spacesuits still. I'm working on that as well. I do have some in storage. I just need to put them on the dudes. But I also want to add more of them around the place. So now we come to the mammal section. So they were introduced in 1.0. There were over 50 different traits they could have and 3 species. Currently there's way more traits. But, you know, that's what they had back then. You can create them past stage 14, which took 1.25 TTI. And here we are. So these are the sharkies. They came from bee larvae. The original 3 you can craft. The other ones you have to find out in the world. The Elica, which came from silkworms. And then we have the Tolopina, which come from rare larvae. There's 5 different variants, and those are the ones that I put in here, so you can see that their horns are different. The same counts for all the other dudes. Some of the traits make some different sizes, and I think the sharkies displayed as the best. As these dudes, they're just too small to really notice a difference. And these were too large to notice much of a difference. But sharkies, you can see that there are some very small ones and then very big ones. They also come with different patterns and colors. So these are some of the different patterns they have. And this dude is dancing. They all have the same color. That is mainly so you could better see the patterns. And then we go back here. There is an information booth, but we come to that in a sec. So this part here is still under construction. So these dudes, for example, they were exclusive to Humble. So we cannot have them here yet. The Muttas were introduced during the rover update, but I haven't found those yet either. Or I haven't found the DNA strand either. And the Snoobers during the explosive update. I'm looking at it, I guess the rover update was later than the explosive one. But I don't think the rover... Yeah, actually, the rover did add new biomes. They added that stuff back there. Oh yeah, well, disregard the stuff I said about the explosive update then. I thought that was way later for some reason. Oh yeah, that's the little Snoober dude. But you know, I have to expand his pen a bit more. Get the different varieties in there. Alright, let's go and check out this info booth. This has beta names. That is right, some of these mammals, they had names before those effigies existed. And basically the way you found these, right, is Miju Games had a press kit on their website. And the file names of the animals were Sharky, or the Sharky. For the Elika, it was Alien Cat. And for the Tolopina, it was Gazelle. Now, only Sharky stayed, and do keep in mind that those effigies that display the proper names, so we know now, they were added like a year later. So these animals, they basically didn't have a name for the longest time. So that press kit was like the only information we had about them. And I don't think I've seen that on the wiki page either, which is kind of funny. So again, it's a lot of research that has to be done for this museum, but it is quite fun. Alright, so we got one major area left, which is the endings room. So for the people that do not want to see any spoilers about the endings, you are warned. This is where I'm going to walk into it. However, if you have any knowledge about like older versions or just any interesting tidbits, like the treasure hunt event, for example, leave it in the comments down below. Well, maybe treasure hunt is probably not the correct one, because I should know about these events, as I've played them since. But maybe more of these beta names or other interesting tidbits that we can display in the museum. So it'd be really cool if we can build this museum up as a community. Anyways, I'm going to walk into the ending section now. So for anyone who doesn't want to see that, I hope you all enjoyed. And I see you all during the Moons update. And for the rest, let's go check out the endings. Spoiler alert. So right here, Planet Crafter got 3 new endings during the 1.0 update. I'm using these light blocks as dividing walls, but they lag the game quite a lot, and they also turn green whenever I reset the game for some reason, so I might have to think of a new way of doing this. Anyway, these are the prime endings. So we have the Warden Portal. So basically, the Wardens were an ancient race that were living on this planet, and they were prophesied to die, so most of them were just sitting there waiting to die. However, a couple of them were like, hell no, man. So they went to the Synod and constructed a portal/rocket ship and left the planet. They did leave behind a detector, this thing over here, which could detect keys, and we needed 10 of them, and that will open up a portal that we can use to leave the planet. Then, of course, our employees, well, I'm not sure if that would be the correct word, seeing as we're prisoners, but Sentinel Corp. After unlocking the Biosphere, which is the final terraformation stage, we get an email saying that we're done with the job. However, they cannot pick us up due to a Warden anomaly. This is blocking their ships from picking us up, and this is why there's so many crash-landed ships on the planet. It was due to that thing. So, we had to blow it up, and after we did that, they picked us up and we left. However, there was another ending. Riley, who was, I think, our friend. I don't know, there's not much information about who she actually is. She just started emailing us for some reason. She advises us not to trust Sentinel Corp, and arranged a deal with the smugglers. The smugglers of the planet. However, they wanted 500,000 Terra tokens and 5 solar quartz. And after getting that amount, which is a lot, we were able to leave the planet. And that leaves us to the humble endings, which there's also 3 of. So we have the basic Sentinel Corp ending. After finding the large mothership from Starform Robotics, which was the company that is technically in custody of that planet, but Sentinel Corp is trying to take it over and sabotage them so they can, well, take over the planet. So we had to blow it up, and afterwards they would pick us up. However, on the other spectrum, Starform Robotics noticed that something is off and got into contact with us, and if we were to collect 15 of the data logs for them. They would help us out. They would not only help us fight Sentinel Corp in, well, court most likely, to get us free, they also offered us a job. So that was actually a pretty nice ending, and Starform Robotics eventually kept the planet humble, and did more of their robot experiments on there, and got the planet back to full life. Although technically I guess we did that, but hey. Then the third ending, which is kind of sad, in a way. And also, like, the smallest and shortest ending of all of them, and the easiest one to get, is you just leave. You don't tell anyone. You're like, alright, I got this rocket, man. I'm out of here. That was that ending. That felt very anticlimactic. But alright, those were all the endings, and that is all the information I currently have on the museum. Again, if you guys have any other information or interesting tidbits that you want to share, leave it in the comments down below. This museum is going to be expanded upon. There's some more things I want to add, but I wanted to get it into a proper state before the Moons update, because getting 2 new planets plus the introduction of Humble that we can travel to on this save file is going to add a lot more to the museum. For example, those cosmic quartz. There was, what the heck were those called? The dolomite? The rocks that have other materials in them, for example. I'm thinking of doing something with that. But yeah, we'll see about that when the update drops, which should be in a couple weeks' time. For now, though, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I see you on the next one. Bye, everyone.